Good morning once again. Good morning.
Good morning.
Yes, my name is Agnes Mothobi. I come from Botswana in Southern Africa. I work for Ministry of Defense, Justice and Security within the Reforms Division. I'm a reforms coordinator in that ministry. Before I can go into my experiences, I would like to give you a little bit background of the ministry that I'm coming from. As you know, Botswana became independent in 1996. We were once a British colony. 1966, yes. We were a British colony from 1885, I think, to 1996. So we just celebrated our 1966. We just celebrated our independence a month ago on the 30th of September. We are turning 50 years old. So my ministry, the Ministry of Defense, Justice and Security, is a relatively new ministry. It was established as a ministry in 2008, and then it became a fully fledged ministry in 2010. So you can see that it is new. But the departments that fall under that ministry have been there since Botswana was there. So these departments, we call them super departments, or they are departments that are the backbone of the country. We have the ministry headquarters, which is new. We have the Botswana Defense Force, which is old, a superpower on its own. We have the Attorney General Chambers falling under our ministry, headed by the Attorney General, who's the legal advisor to government. We also have the Botswana Police Service. We have the Administrative of Justice, which is another arm of government. And we also have the Prisons and Rehabilitation Service under the same ministry. So you can see that it's a very, very complicated ministry and challenging when it comes to, trying to lead such a diverse ministry. We have the commander of the BDF, who is responsible directly to the president, yet there is a minister that he also has to account to. We also have the Attorney General, who is the government legal advisor, directly responsible to the president constitutionally. But she also has to report to the minister. And then we have the Administrative of Justice, which is way out of the executive, the judiciary. And they also have to report to the minister. So you can see the difficulty. And then within the Ministry of Defense, Justice and Security, we have a minister. We also have the overall accounting officer administratively, whom we call the permanent secretary. And this permanent secretary is at the same level as the commander of the BDF, as the Attorney General. And basically what the ministry headquarters is supposed to do is to provide the coordination and support to all these departments to function. We call them departments at the ministry, but they themselves, they don't call themselves department. So that is where I am going to start. So my experiences within this ministry, I've been with this ministry since inception in 2010. I was one of the first people to start with the ministry. When we started, we were under the presidency, and then somewhere along that year, 2010, we now became independent. as a ministry. And throughout those years, we've seen evolution of leadership in terms of ministers. I've served under 3 ministers within that very short period of time. So you can see how difficult it is. It's more like the president is, trying the various leaders into that particular ministry. So the major challenges that I can say I've experienced, like I said, I'm just going to zero in into my ministry. The major challenges have been the major one is the functionality of the structure within that ministry, because you are bringing in entities that have got robust structures, and you want to bring them into one roof and expect them to function smoothly without any hiccups. And you are bringing people from the various arms of government, and you expect them to function as such, even though we are not interfering with their operational areas. When you provide resources to them, when you coordinate them, you need to provide resources knowing what those resources are meant to do. When you coordinate them, you need to coordinate their roles, knowing what it is exactly that they do. But the major challenge is, protection of territories. So much that you will provide funding, or they will need so much funding, but you don't have a clear picture of what is those finances are exactly going towards. And over and above that, because like I've said, some of the heads of these departments, they report directly to the head of states as per the acts that established them. You'll never get clear answers as to what exactly they need the finances for. They will say, no, the head of state has made a pronouncement, so you need to provide. And on the other side, your financial responsibility as the head within the ministry headquarters also says something else. So you are torn in between, not knowing exactly what you are supposed to do. And some of those pronouncements that are made by the head of the state, you will never be privy to them, or you will never even ascertain whether what they are saying is the truth or not the truth. And then the other major challenge that I've seen or experienced throughout those years is the power struggles. I'll call it power struggles. Saying I've always been in existence and I've always functioned well. So why are you bringing in other bodies that are going to control how I'm going to supposed to function? So there is that power struggle. Even though the head of the state said, this is the ministry, these are the entities that are going to go under that ministry, and this is the vision that I have for this particular ministry. And it's just for those heads of entities to come together and agree in principle that yes, we can work together. But that has been a major struggle, and even up to this day, it's still a major struggle. And again, within the same ministry, there is competition for financial resources. That some of the things are difficult for them, or they cannot say that we need the finances to do this and that. So when it comes to time for budgeting, it becomes really, really, really difficult for my leaders. More so that they are leaders who have got no background in the military, no background in the police, no background in any of those entities that they are leading. But we do have to provide those resources to them. Even though there is no structure that brings all of them together. We call it a ministry, but they operate in their own entities. The ministry headquarters is just a smaller establishment with maybe 2 people from the BDF, 2 from police, 1 from prisons, 2 from the administration of justice. And we call that a ministry that is supposed to coordinate and facilitate those other departments. But all in all, I can say that I've seen the robust capability of my permanent secretary in trying to, make those entities to work together, or in trying to make those departments to come together, bringing that synergy, which is not that very much easy. And at some point, we were even thinking that this is not a workable ministry. Why don't we call for division, splitting this ministry into 3 ministries that will make it to function efficiently? And we were hoping that as there was leadership change, we'll have that ministry split into 3 or 2 ministries at least, after we increased the number of ministers by 2, increased the number of members of parliament by 2. But unfortunately, that did not happen. So basically, it says the leader of the country is saying this is the ministry and it is going to work the way it is. So basically, the way we are operating is, doing what we call indirect leadership, where there is extensive consultation. And in doing these extensive consultations, when we are seated around the table, we are in agreement at the headquarters. We agree in principles on a lot of things that we'll be discussing. But when these heads of departments that have been there during the consultations, when they go back to their institutions, what was agreed during the consultations never happens, or it never takes off ground, because we keep on moving from one point to the other and back from that point to where we started. So that is the game that we have been playing for the past years. Whereas one leader will say, I cannot take instructions from a civilian, or a civilian cannot tell me to go do A, B, C, D, E. Even though we've all come together, we've set our vision together, we've come up with beautiful strategy documents, but the challenge, the major challenge is implementation of that particular strategy. Even though there are forums where on quarterly basis we have to go back to the head of state and, present on the implementation of that strategy. So we are still having challenges of implementation of the strategy. And it's difficult, to, or there is fear when we are there reporting to the head of state to exactly say that, oh, this person is the stumbling block, this one is the stumbling block. So there is that sugar coating or protecting each other, or even though that person that you are protecting is making you not to do what you are supposed to do. So I can just conclude by saying the best example of leaders that I want to see from the perspective of my organization, I would say they are not yet there, because I want to see leaders who can be able to make those robust decisions without fear or favor, without saying, if I do this, maybe I'll lose my job, or maybe this person will go to the president and say this and this and this about me. I'm specifically making reference to maybe the minister, who's the political leader of the ministry. Having an advisor, the advisor being the permanent secretary, I would say maybe the political leader should be able to, take those radical decisions. If it means calling for the review of the various pieces of legislation that have established those particular entities, that is when we can see ourselves as a ministry going forward. Because my belief is that the ministry is there to stay as long as we are still having the same leadership, the same party ruling the country, which I think is still going to be the same in the next 2 years when we go towards elections. So it's just for all of us to come together and agree in principle so that we can go forward. And I believe there is a lot of what can I call it? There is a lot of under or misreporting to the head of state in terms of the internal fightings or internal instability within the ministry, because I believe the head of state is a leader that when all the correct and the truest information is put before him, he can guide and make the right decisions, as evidenced by the recent developments that have been going on in our country concerning some of the major mining institutions due to financial problems. I think I'll stop here, and I will await questions when there will be any questions. Thank you.